pacifism, the belief that any violence, including war, is unjustifiable under any circumstance, and that all disputes should be settled by peaceful means. So the question today is, how can I take this ideology and use it to beat Don't Starve? And is it even possible? Well, in today's video, we are going to figure that out. Let me make one thing clear, however. This challenge won't be taking place in Don't Starve together. Instead, I'm bringing us back to the OG game to see if we can defeat Don't Starve's very own story mode, adventure mode, as a complete pacifist. Can I survive Maxwell's 5 layers of hell while my attack key is unbound? Well, let's dive into the ground for some reason, even though the door's right there, to find out. Wait, 1 second. Before we begin the video, only 15% of you guys are actually subscribed, so it's a pretty low amount. If you want to help the channel out, please make sure to subscribe. It's free and it helps me out a ton. Okay, now let's actually start. Chapter 1, A Cold Reception. A more preferable start compared to some of the other levels, but one that still presented a unique challenge. If you don't know how adventure mode works, well, let's talk about it a little bit. So, adventure mode works like this. You have 6 total challenge worlds, 4 of which, A Cold Reception, King of Winter, The Game is Afoot, and Archipelago, can be chosen at random to appear as chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 worlds is unique as it can only appear as chapter 3, but is not guaranteed. And finally, Darkness is always chapter 5, and is considered by most to be one of the hardest levels you will face. To beat a chapter of adventure mode, you must collect all 4 things: the metal potato thing, the ring thing, the crank thing, and the box thing, and bring them all to the teleportato to progress. Do this 5 times and that's it. You win Don't Starve. That doesn't sound that hard, right? Well, you'll see later in this run how not being able to attack anything can get pretty annoying. Day 1 of this strange new world is spent gathering as many resources as possible. Cold Reception is one of those safer chapters, 6 days of a very rainy autumn and 3 days of winter. So we would use it as a staging ground to learn as many recipes as we can and prepare ourselves for what's to come. That's when I realized something. Food. Not being able to attack means no butterfly wings, no easy tallbird meals, and more importantly, I can't accidentally slap Chester when he gets in my way for the 37th time. So our diet would consist of mostly carrots and berries and whatever else we can scavenge from other creature battles. Not great because, some chapters, like King of Winter, will flat out have a chance to not spawn forageables at all, so there was hurdle 1 of this challenge. But hurdles are problems for future me. Right now, we must live in the present. We obtain the box thing, one of the 4 special items we need to progress, and we end the day with a very decent line of starting resources. On day 2, we find a set piece that will come in clutch far later in the video. But for now, that miner's hat will rot in our inventory. We then use some trees to dry off perfectly before the next rainstorm, and then set some more spiky trees on fire. Why am I burning these trees? Well, spiky trees are actually the best tree to obtain charcoal from, as unlike pine trees and birchnut trees, you can obtain twigs and logs from burnt spiky trees. As for the rest of the day, we spend it hunting for our next item by using our divining rod. And at the end, we come across a bee bridge. Scary, but thankfully not as scary as it would have been on previous patches of the game. Those of you who know. On day 3, we take on the Bee Bridge challenge and are rewarded with the crank thing. We had now found 2 of the 4 items we required to progress. We also begin making progress. Science machine, backpack, hammer to break the pig house, alchemy engine, and with the alchemy engine we make a football helmet and a log suit. Why so much armor? Well, the teleportato always spawns with 2 bishops and 2 knights, and it's nearly impossible to get around them to access it. So if they aren't busy fighting something else, which is actually pretty surprisingly likely, we will have to tank while putting the pieces together. And because armor stacks in single player Don't Starve, we can use this to our advantage to take minimal damage. Speaking of damage, I realized something pretty detrimental at this point. Healing. Usually to heal, many players would use butterfly wings, spider glands, or in a pinch, cooked meat. But due to our pacifist ways, we can't actively gather these items. We must either get lucky and witness some battles, or preserve as much health as we can. And at the moment, cooked carrots are our best and most available healing source, which is not so good. Regardless, we end day 3 pretty good, as we found the metal potato thing, leaving us with one more item to go. And we also found the teleportato base, and watched a bishop fall to some spiders, giving us a stress-free path to escape this chapter. Once we find the final item, of course. Day 4 presents us with our biggest challenge yet, a pig guard bridge. But pigmen are neutral, right? Not these ones. They not only are aggressive, but they hit pretty hard and have a faster attack speed than their neutral cousins. Thankfully, with some expert level maneuvering, we get through the bridge with no damage, and are rewarded with many pig houses to steal skin from. And the final piece to our puzzle, the ring thing. With all 4 things obtained, all we needed to do now was head back to the teleportato base, and we could move on to chapter 2. But before we can do that, we must prepare, so we head back to our alchemy engine and craft up a bunch of things so that we can have the recipes for later chapters already learned, which is basically how we ended day 4. And with that, day 5 was here, our final day of this chapter. We place down all of the pieces, activate the teleportato, and are given a chance to bring 4 items with us into the next run. We choose to bring the miner's hat, some gold for early tools, pigskin for armor, and finally carrots because food might actually become an issue. We then prepare to journey onwards. Chapter 2, Archipelago. Probably the best Chapter 2 we could have asked for. Archipelago spawns you in, you guessed it, an archipelago of islands, all connected by wormholes. But most importantly, the weather was generally always pleasant, and food was abundant thanks to the constant swamp wars that would go on between merms, spiders, and tentacles. Think I'm joking? Yeah, we hadn't fought a single thing, and this is what our food situation was looking like by the end of day 1. Archipelago was great for us and afforded us a lot of time to prepare for what's ahead. Day 2 saw us traveling to a new island, which was a fully swampified island, a Wurtmane's dream. Too bad this is single player and she doesn't exist yet in the lore. We also found the ring thing here. I did notice a bit of an issue, however, sanity. No attacking means no fighting our inner demons. No fighting our inner demons means they can very easily overwhelm us and end our run. Yikes. We should probably do something about that. And so, on day 3, we set out to dig up some blue caps. Now, digging up mushrooms is a certified sin in the world of Don't Starve, but adventure mode is a fleeting world, so doing this was no big deal for us. I would have preferred green caps, of course, but these bad boys, once roasted on a fire, got the job done splendidly. Splendidly. Does that sound like a word? Day 4 started with us on Savannah Island. And for an island that's also a savanna, it was pretty grassless. Lots of beefalo though, but these things would be useless to us as we, can't attack anything. Today wasn't all useless though, as we found the teleportato base and found the bee island. This island was full of flowers for an easy sanity boost, alongside the box thing. That's 2 things down, 2 to go. And we already had located the platform too, so that's pretty good. That, however, was not the end of the day. You see that silk that we had obtained from watching spiders and tentacles fight? Well, we would use that to make a bug net. This bug net would allow us to collect fireflies. Why? Well, adventure mode veterans will know exactly why I'm collecting these, but those of you who don't will just have to wait. Day 5 was pretty straightforward. We collected both the crank thing and Mr. Potato Head, meaning whenever we wanted, we would be free to leave this chapter behind us and move on to the next. But first, fireflies. We needed more, so we wait for night to fall and catch some, and that's when I hear a peculiar noise. Hounds. Normally you won't see them very often in adventure mode runs since you are meant to rush through them as fast as possible, but since we spent a while here building up, yeah, they would be an issue. Luckily, the first hound wave generally consists of just one hound, so we would evade him in the morning and head to the teleportato to move on, which is exactly what we did. Bye-bye, hound. Hello, teleportato. The tall birds had taken care of one of the knights, so all we had to do was plug in our stuff, put the gold, pigskin, miner's hat, and fireflies in, and off we went. Chapter 3, 2 Worlds. After a valid Maxwell crash out, we were free to explore the surprisingly peaceful map. For those of you unaware, 2 Worlds is just like it says. 2 separate and completely different worlds. Here is the only time you will see the fabled sick wormhole, and using it will act as a one-way trip to the quote-unquote dangerous world. But it's not really that dangerous. It just makes dusk really long, and that's kind of it. I know I said it was a one-way trip too, but it's really not, as you can very easily find a regular wormhole connecting both islands. However, until we go there, we won't find any more pieces for the portal. So day 1 was, well, it was day 1. You know how things go. Day 2 was here, and what's this? Is this Great Value Hamlet? No way. How epic. Oh yeah, and there's the sick wormhole. Well, no sense in wasting any more time, let's get out of here. The longer we wait, the faster we run out of food, which is surprisingly limited without the use of violence in Vanilla Don't Starve. Well, technically I was playing in Reign of Giants, but adventure mode was built with vanilla in mind, so yeah. The new island poses very little threat to us, and in reality we breeze around and gather all the pieces and are ready to leave by midway through day 3. Yeah, Two Worlds is meant to be a sort of chill chapter, so it's no surprise that we got through it that easily. We pack up our miner's helmet, our fireflies, our pigskin, and then I struggle for a second on the final choice. We have lots of carrots, and bringing them could allow us to not worry so much about food, but not bringing gold could slow our progression by a bit. In the end, I choose the carrots over the gold, a choice that may have just saved this run. And off we went into the next chapter of this journey. Chapter 4, The King of Winter. This level is regarded as one of the hardest in the pool, and for good reason. It's permanent winter. Luckily for us, we had a beard, but it wasn't long enough to provide that excellent insulation yet. We also start with a thermal stone, but this is a single player thermal stone, which are far weaker than their Don't Starve Together counterparts. Yes, I know, single player has the Chad no durability thermal stones, but it does come at a cost of like a lot of heat retention. Wanna know what else sucks about this chapter, especially in this run? It has a very real chance to not generate any forageable food. Berries are sparse and never regrow, and carrots have a chance to just not show up, which we had in this run. And mushrooms, while semi-common, are better used for dealing with the sanity bridges than filler for crockpot stuff. This was gonna be rough, and probably one of our biggest challenges so far. We spend day 1 very slowly making our way around and using tree fires to stay warm. On day 2, we found our first bridge. And luckily for us, it was a simple bridge, just a boulder bridge. All this would require is a few pickaxe hits, and boom, we were in. We managed to find the box thing here, and later in the night, the ring thing. So far, so good. We even find the potato thing on day 3. Yeah, this is light work, right? Well, things hit a snag here. We get pretty lost looking for another bridge, and have to do what can only be described as willow moments to stay warm. Sorry, Forest, your sacrifice will not be in vain. I hope. Day 4 was here, and we had finally found a bridge. This was a hound bridge, which much like the bee bridge is pretty much just hold W to cross and have simple spatial awareness. We get by and ooh, that's gonna help us drastically going forward. Now we would be able to stay warm much longer. But remember, we were sacrificing armor, so that could be a problem. Over here we find the platform. Honestly, I would have preferred to find the crank thing, but hey, knowing where the platform is pretty good, I guess. Well, if the crank isn't anywhere near here, then there's a good chance I missed it on the starting island. And what do you know, on day 5, after backtracking to the start, we find our first sanity bridge. By far the most annoying bridge type, as this requires your sanity to be either very high or very low. This particular one required low sanity, so we chugged some mushrooms and tried to make a dash for the crank. We grab it and head back all before a single shadow spawns. Whew, that's good. Using the power of forest fires, we make our way back to the platform, aggro the knight, and place our things on the platform. I then pull back and think about what I want to bring with us to the next level. As I stated earlier, Chapter 5 is always guaranteed to be a certain level, Darkness, in which you are essentially playing a lights out world. Suddenly, my miner's hat and fireflies are kinda making sense, huh? Of course, we would be taking those. Now we had to choose between pigskin, gold, and food. I ended up going with pigskin and food. Armor is still essential, even if we will be wearing the miner's hat for a majority of the level. We have to know that being unarmored is like really dangerous, especially if we have no ability to fight back. I steel myself for the challenge ahead of us and allow Maxwell to drag us to the final test. Chapter 5. Darkness. This is it, our final test. Victory was so close. Soon I would be able to say that I could beat Don't Starve as a pacifist. We spend a majority of the first day gathering resources. Our miner's hat should last us the entire journey, but we still need torches in case a situation where we need to be armored arises. And you're crazy if you think I'm going to take this backpack off ever like a smart person. Bah, that's pointless dribble. Our journey then begins. Now, a little known fact is that this level always generates as a loop, with the portal base at the end. So we begin to head out into the lethal swamp, where we find a friend who gets, well, hey, food's food, right? We then find our very first bridge and pass into what looks like a budget spider quarry. And then we find our very first thing, the ring thing. Just like that, we were 1/4 of the way done with this level. A few moments later, the box thing. Man, we were on a roll, and we only had used 2 fireflies, and still had plenty of carrots left to fuel our steam engine. So, no stopping now. We progress onwards into the dark, and that's when I find a sanity bridge. Yeah, that sucks, but it's nothing a little backtracking can't fix. We take a step back, gather some mushrooms, and return to the gate and pass it into what is by far the most dangerous biome of adventure mode. So everyone knows about spider quarries, right? Well, what if spider quarries had more spiders? That's this biome. Most of you may be thinking, well, how is this dangerous? Well, the sheer amount of spiders, plus the webbing which slows you down, can lead to some very lethal encounters. So we traverse this place mostly by torchlight to ensure that we were well armored. Here we find the crank. 3 down, 1 to go. Well, not including the platform, of course. This last thing was gonna put us to work though. How so? Well, our last trial, bees. Lots and lots of bees. Now, normally this is no problem, but here, let me just play this out for you to see the sheer amount of bees that Maxwell had thrown at me in a last-ditch effort here. Oh, this is... holy... Wow. Wait, there's something over here. Good thing we didn't go through. That's the bridge. And we got the potato thing. That means on the next spot, we have teleportato. We could win it. We could win it right here, right now. But we gotta get past what seems like the bridge of hell. Let's try to find the path with the least amount of killer bees. We'll go from there. But we might want to go by torchlight, honestly. I want to go by torchlight on this one. Even though it gives us less view. Here we go, guys. Here we go. Don't panic. Don't choke. Don't choke, don't panic. Maxwell's late here. How long is this bridge? Not choking, but like... how long is this bridge? I think we're nearing the end. We're nearing the end. We're nearing the end. We made it. We made it. We made it. We made it. Dude, that is hell. That is scary. I mean, it's not that bad, but like... After that debacle, we push on and find the platform. Here it just takes a little finesse with the knight. We place down the things, pop it open, throw a few filler items in, and boom. Epilogue. Checkmate. At this point, we had done it. There was nothing in between us and defeating adventure mode as a complete pacifist. We used no helpers, no followers, no cheese of any kind. We came, we didn't conquer, and somehow we end this challenge victorious. We free Maxwell only for him to be smited by them. Oh boy, I wonder who they could be. And then Wilson is gracefully sat on the throne, doomed to eventually be freed by Charlie and sent to live with Maxwell and the others. But he could do so with an empty conscience, because Wilson had beaten adventure mode without laying a finger on a single soul of this world. And so we can answer the question, Can you beat Don't Starve as a pacifist? Absolutely. Maybe not if you get King of Winter as your first spawn and are particularly unlucky on forageable drops, but otherwise, yes. Okay, I'll be honest, this challenge was genuinely super fun, and a little shorter than my other challenges, but I hope you liked it. It's fun to switch up between Don't Starve Together challenges and Don't Starve single player ones, because I feel like the single player game deserves so much more love. It's still pretty epic, even if it's considered finished and no longer receiving any updates. This has been Polarlotus, and I hope you have a wonderful day, /evening, /night, or whatever it happens to be when you are watching this. Bye-bye.